Primal, the Gendy Tartakovsky cartoon, is about a caveman and dinosaur trying to survive a brutal, stylized version of prehistoric Earth. It's a show about violence, its style focusing on the monstrous, cruel, visceral aspects of nature. In pretty much every episode, Cave Guy and Dinosaur fight some animalistic and later human enemy, hyped by the art and show philosophy into some demonic monstrosity. The show trades in depictions of violence as natural and unavoidable, but tries to depict it as also justifiable enough to be extremely fun to watch. It may not be to everyone's taste, but for those who enjoy it, it's very engaging and satisfying. I realized during the edit that not everyone probably wants to watch extreme graphic violence, so just warning for that, warning for some brutality. And if you're still with me, let's fucking go. To prevent the episodes from becoming a dull orgy of blood, there are a lot of flashes of humanity. There's no dialogue in the show, so emotion and character are completely visual, and lingered on quite a lot. There's more here than just pure violence. There are plenty of moments of depth. Not all the dismemberment and death are played for fun, but on the whole, the brutality is the point. However, I think there are two episodes in particular that interrogate this show's relationship with violence in separate but very interesting ways. When I say that they're the two most violent episodes of Primal, I don't just mean physical violence. Every episode has that. I mean a more psychological type of violence. To anyone who has seen the show, I think my first example would be obvious. It's upsetting enough that I didn't even really want to rewatch it for the purpose of making this. But it's Plague of Madness, the zombie dinosaur episode. It might sound like any other episode of Primal. Sometimes they fight a big snake, sometimes big red bats, an ape coliseum. This time it's a zombie dinosaur. But there's something different this time, and you feel it almost immediately. A brontosaurus gets bit by a little zombie fella who looks very rabid, and already, before he even turns, you can just see this visceral pain on the thing's face, in its breathing, in its action. Gendy puts everything in this episode into depicting utter, total hurt, and it's legitimately hard to watch. As it turns, it destroys its entire nest, and there's no enjoyment to be found here. This isn't gratifying, it's too much. In a show that's all about brutality, this is just way too brutal. The violence in this show can be cruel, but it often has a natural beauty lurking somewhere in there as well. There's an unnatural meanness in the air here that we haven't seen before. And when our cave guy and his pet dino enter the picture, they feel that wrongness right away. This monster, I think, is the only one that they don't, for even a moment, try to fight. There's a pure panic in even seeing the thing. This is not a monster of the week fight. This is just a chase, just to get the fuck away from this thing story. And even though it's turned, you can see the horror, the aching, throbbing sores, the involuntary madness. Its movements are so erratic, so nakedly, abnormally murderous, that its motion itself is disgusting. Fear and pity just ooze out of our caveman and his dino buddy too. And it's an infectious feeling. If the entire show was always like this, I don't think I could stomach it. The show is very often about the horrors of nature, but it focuses more precisely onto that idea here. It completely removes the entertainment of the violence. To suffer is awful. To be in pain is awful. And when you see that, it's a fundamental trait of the living to recoil in dread and sadness. It says, yeah, this show is very fun and entertaining. Lava zombie dinosaurs are very cool. You'd be a fool to deny that. But let's just narrow in for a second on the simple fact that violence, disease, and death are just absolutely fucking horrible. And let's find the tiniest possible moment of shock and beauty and fade out. The other episode I want to talk about comes from the second season, where we see our Neanderthal dinosaur super team interact with more advanced humans, having more to say about the barbarity of human beings, war, revenge, that sort of thing. There's also a woman character now, and more serialization this time around. The woman has been kidnapped by Vikings to be kept as a slave, and our super team needs to get to the Viking village and free her in the Red Mist. It starts in the first half like any other episode of Season 2. The Viking soldiers, mounted on bears with soulless white eyes, make solid monster humans. The sense is, our heroes are going to free the slaves and defeat the enemy. And it's going to be a cool and gratifying watch. But something happens about halfway through the episode. The villagers, the non-soldiers, start to get involved in the fighting. And even though, of course, this is a slave-owning village, you get a sense of innocence from them, of desperation. The deaths of the more regular folk feel too easy. They look too scared. The animation lingers just a bit too long. The slaves escape into the forest, but we return to our brave heroes. And you start to question the limits of how justifiable all this is feeling. Some villagers surround our cave friend, one with a screaming newborn. A young boy is firing arrows, and you realize that these people, the non-bear riding ones, aren't quite the aggressors anymore. They're defending themselves now, against a very real danger. And as the bodies start to pile up, the red mist rolls in, and the perspective of everything is suddenly, narratively, completely flipped. Suddenly, our main characters are silhouettes. Our cute blue dinosaur's features are accentuated, sharper, scarier, her eyes glowing red. There's no music, just screams, blood, and gore. Again, it feels like it's too much. And for the rest of this episode, we follow the last survivors, returning home from a slave run. They just fucking love slaves. But we see their reaction to the death of every single human being in the village. We hear the total silence, feel the loss and hurt for relationships we didn't care or think about. They did start it, but the whole thing just ends up feeling excessive and pointless. Just unnecessary. The slavery obviously matters, and I'm not trying to hand wave that away, but I don't think it undercuts what the episode is doing. The point isn't who's right, it's how easily violence mutates depending on perspective. We've been following our cave duo as they overcome monsters, survive against the odds. But this episode says if you'd flipped many of those fights, the protagonist could easily have been the antagonist. That there isn't relief or righteousness in violence, but corruption and gratuity. These episodes, both of them, get down to something fundamental in Primal that is handled well elsewhere, but I think becomes the focal point here, in ways that have stuck in my brain. That while this show is stylized, action-packed, and entertaining as all fuck, it has higher aims than that. That murderous brutality actually isn't all that fun. That you should just remember to think about what it is that you're watching and question the enjoyment that you're finding in it.